Hey, welcome back, American Government class. It is Thursday, January 21st, 2020. Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. We have a little bit of work to do today. All right, if you take a look at the board, we have our last class review. That's basically everything behind me right now. We're going to go over that, talk about political parties and the different parties, the party systems, things like that. And then we're going to lead into a current event. Yesterday was a very important day in American government, and we need to talk about it. After that, it's Thursday. You got a weekly review quiz, and we're going to try something new. We're going to just put the questions up on the computer screen and let you answer them. We're going to see how that works for you. Make sure there's no confusion. The question's just going to be boom, right there. You answer it and send it on into me. I'll hit you with your assignment and attendance, and we'll be on our way to the weekend. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and talk about last class. Last class, you guys had some reading and some questions to answer, and it all talked about political parties. Now, the first question was, what is a political party? This is very important, and this is something you're going to want to know for tests, for life, for quizzes. But a political party is basically a group of people that share common interests and beliefs, and they want to do four major things as a political party. They want to nominate candidates. Now, these are in a specific order to help you remember what the four things political parties want to do is. So remember, we already know that they have the same beliefs, the same interests. They get together and they want to nominate a candidate. That means they'll pick somebody to run for office, to be a leader in government. And they nominate a candidate that they think is good because they want that candidate to win an election. They want all their candidates to win elections. An election is when you have two people going against each other for one spot, just like we just did with Joe Biden and President Trump, or President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. They had an election. They were both candidates. Now, you nominate a candidate and you hope that they win the election, because if they win the election, they get to control government. They are in charge of a specific seat or a specific house. They have power and they get to control government. And if you control government, you get to influence policies. Now, what's a policy? What's another word for policy? Schools have policies, right? No cell phones during class, no chewing gum, no screaming out in the middle of a class. I don't know. There's policies, right? Policies are basically rules. But in this case, to influence policies, what we mean is they get to make laws. That's what influencing a policy means. They get to make laws. They help make laws. So this is what a political party does. It's different from an average citizen because you and I, we might have the same beliefs. We might be part of a political party, but just because you and I agree on something doesn't mean that you and I are a political party. To be a political party, you must nominate candidates, win elections, control government, and influence policies. In our country, as we said last class, we have two major political parties. We have the Democrats and the Republicans. Joe Biden, Democrat, Donald Trump, Republican. They were the two parties that were kind of going against each other in the election. They're the two major parties that always go against each other in the elections. Now, the second question on your assignment was, where are one-party systems found? Right here, I've got the three different types of party systems. One-party system is not good. A one-party system means there's only one party in power all the time, and whatever they say goes. So where do we normally find these? Where do we find people who just care about their beliefs and don't listen to anybody else? If you remember back from Unit 1, we talked about people like that. When there's just one individual who gets whatever they want, they're usually a little crazy and greedy for power. That's right, one-party systems are usually found in dictatorships. A dictator doesn't want anybody running against them in an election. It's just, hey, it's me or nobody. And by nobody, I mean death. Usually, if you don't vote for that person, or you get thrown in jail. Great choice right there. Vote, die, or get thrown in jail. That's how you see these dictatorships come to power. So that's a one-party system. One-party system is where we find, or dictatorships are normally where we find one-party systems. A two-party system usually means there are two major parties, but there are some other small parties. That's actually what we have in the United States. A two-party system is what we have in the United States. We have the Democrats and the Republicans. However, those aren't the only two. We have plenty of third or minor parties, which we'll talk about in a second, but really only two major parties. So a two-party system, you can even throw in the word here to help you remember, two major, I know that's small, the two major party system. That means there's two major parties and a bunch of smaller parties. A multi-party system is different. You see this a lot in Europe. Here, they have Democrats, they have Republicans, and then they would have a third party that's just as large as the Democrats and Republicans, and maybe even a fourth party, or even a fifth party. And what a multi-party system does is it opens up more options for the people. Maybe you don't like the Democrats and you don't like the Republicans, so you want an extra choice. You think, oh, I don't like that third guy, but I like this fourth guy. Or maybe you don't like the fourth party, but you like the fifth party. A multi-party system is really beneficial in that way because it opens up more options for you to choose from when you are voting in elections. Now, these are the three types of systems we have in the world. And remember that this right here is the one we have in the United States. That might be a quiz question. Multi-party system is the one you might confuse it with because you think, oh, well, in the US we have minor parties and major parties. Two major parties is a two-party system. That's what we have. Now, the third or minor parties, or am I skipping? I'm skipping a question. Number 3 was, what did George Washington warn against in his farewell address? Basically, all of this. George Washington was leaving office, and he said, yo, y'all, political parties are no good. I can see it coming. If you have parties, people are just going to disagree with each other. They won't even talk to each other. They'll hear, oh, you're a this? Well, I'm a this, so we can't be friends. We hate each other. He warned about that we're talking over 200 years ago. And what do we have today? The baneful effects of the party system. That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what we have. People will not talk to each other if they find out, oh, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican. They just immediately don't like each other. That's what George Washington warned us about. Amongst other things, that was one major thing he warned us about. And he was right. That was question number 3. Question number 4 now leads us to a third or minor party. It says, what is a third party and what is another name for them? Well, another name is a minor party. But a third party is really any other party other than the two major parties. Now in America, we have a lot of these, all right? The major ones today are the Green Party and the Libertarian Party. Those are two third parties that are starting to gain a little momentum, gain a little popularity as well, and gathering to grow a little bit more so that they're not so minor. You really only have third or minor parties in a two-party system. Question number 5 was, list 3 types of third parties and explain each. Well, the first one was pretty simple. A single issue party. A single issue party is exactly that. They care about a single issue. They don't necessarily care about gun control or abortion or taxes or education. They don't care about all 4 of those things, but they might care about one of them. And in fact, an example of a third party that I just gave you is an example of a single issue party. The Green Party is a single issue party. They care about one major thing, and that is the environment. That's why they're called the Green Party. Their major issue, the thing that they care about most, the thing that they want to have an effect on, is the environment. They want pollution to stop. They want recycling to happen more. They want the hole in the ozone layer to close up. They want toxic gases to stop being spread. Their major focus in all of the policies that they make has to do with one issue, and that's the environment. Now, the second type of third party was the ideological party. And basically what an ideological party wants is just complete and overall change. They see the system of Democrats and Republicans and they go, ha, that is terrible, what you think and what you think and what you've done, it's all bad. It's just disgusting. We need to change all of it. That's what an ideological party cares about. They want complete, sweeping, and overall change. The third party is an easy one to remember, especially if you watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up. No, just me? I'm old. A splinter party. Now, what is a splinter? Let's say you're sweeping the house for your mom and you get a splinter. Where did that splinter come from? Came from the broom, right? But now it's in your finger and it hurts because a splinter breaks off. And that's what a splinter party is. It's part of a party, like part of the Democratic Party, but they start breaking away from the Democratic Party because they start disagreeing with some of the things that party believes in. So they split or splinter away and become a smaller third party. They kind of just breaks away. Still has some of the same beliefs, but differs on a few major issues, and they're called a splinter party. Now, those were the three types of third parties. And the final question was, in what ways do third parties affect elections? Well, two ways. One, and this is probably one of the most important, is they talk about unpopular ideas. Third parties are normally the parties that throughout history have talked about topics that the two major parties don't want to talk about. Now, why wouldn't the two major parties want to talk about them? All comes back to winning elections. There are some issues the candidates don't want to talk about because if they talk about it and they say they stand or they have a certain belief one way on an issue, they might lose a lot of votes. Someone might hear that and say, oh, I don't like that guy. I heard what he said about this, and I don't like that. That's what the third parties do. They get into these elections and they say, we're going to talk about this. Some of the things, some examples that third parties have talked about, minimum wage. Minimum wage was an idea that was brought about by a third party. They said, hey, people should get in minimum wage. Another one was a 5-day work week, saying we should only have to work 5 days. Everybody calm down. We need 5-day work week. Oftentimes, you'll hear third parties talking about things that other candidates don't want to talk about in modern times, like needle exchange for drug addicts, where they say, hey, let's clean up these needles so these people stop dying. And other people will say, well, hey, they're drug addicts. Let them die. Who cares? We don't need to give them clean needles. They're just going to keep doing drugs. And the third party people might say, well, you know what? Let's try to save everyone we can. We should still be having clean needles. Those are unpopular ideas to talk about. They just are. But third parties talk about them, and they force the other candidates of the major parties to talk about those issues as well, so that the people can get a better sense of how the candidates stand on certain issues. That way they can vote better. The second one, which most people will tell you when you talk about third parties, is they steal votes from the two major parties. Now, steal is a strong word, but that's what people will say. They steal votes. Now, what do we mean steal votes? Well, let's go ahead, erase this real quick, and let's have a fake election here. All right? Right here, in this fake election, we have candidate A and candidate B. Candidate A wins the election with 75 votes. Candidate B only had 68 votes. That is a total, where are my math people at, of 7, right? Candidate A won by 7 votes. Now, let's introduce a third-party candidate. Maybe it wasn't these two. Here's third-party candidate. Now, in the first election, in our first example, there was no third-party candidate, so there was a 0 there, an NA, if you will. But now we have the same amount of people voting for 3 candidates instead of 2. So, candidate A, he loses some votes to candidate C here, and he only gets, let's go with 65 votes. 65, that's still pretty good. Candidate B, he loses some votes as well, but he only loses 2 votes. So 66. And then the 10 votes and the 2 votes add up to 12 votes for candidate C. Candidate C still gets smashed in the election. Just absolutely destroyed. 12 votes to 65 and 66. But those 12 votes came at a cost to candidate A, who now has 65 as opposed to 75. In this first election, without a candidate, without a third party, this was our winner. But with a third party candidate, candidate B now wins the election. And you'll see that or hear that a lot in American politics. They'll say, third parties steal votes from the major parties. It's not really stealing, but it's getting the votes to go somewhere else, to a party that maybe someone else feels better represents them. Now, all of this information is fair game for your weekly review quiz today. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clear up this board and explain to you what your assignment's going to be, and then we're going to go ahead and hit up that weekly review quiz. All right, 5-minute review, a little bit longer than expected. So let's get right on into today's assignment. Yesterday, as we said, was January 20th. And January 20th, every 4 years, is Inauguration Day. What does that mean? Well, I think the cat's out of the bag. We get a new president, or at least a new presidential term starts. For example, this year we have a new president. President Joe Biden is now our president. However, if President Trump would have won, he would start a new term yesterday. However, he did not win, so we have a new president, and Inauguration Day is the day that president becomes inaugurated and starts their new term. Now, what does this mean? I don't know. You tell me. We will certainly be talking about this later this semester. There it is, easy for me to say. When we talk about the executive branch and how to become the president, the road to the White House, how you get to be the president. And part of it has to do with Inauguration Day, obviously. But for now, since this is actual government that we are living through, I want you to give me a current event on yesterday's Inauguration Day. That is going to be your assignment. Your assignment will be a 15-sentence current event on yesterday's inauguration. 15 sentences. I want you to tell me the 5 W's. The who, and it's more than just the president. Who was there? Who got inaugurated? Who was the person who swore in the president? Who attended that we've heard of before? What? What happened? What happened? Was there any type of concert? Was there a parade? Was there an outbreak? Was there a fight? Who or what? Why? Why do they do this? Why? Why do we do this? I kind of already gave that one. Who, what, why, when? Well, you know it's this. But what time did it happen? Was it in the morning? Was it at night? Was it during the day? Who, what, when, where? Where did this happen? Not just the city, but where in that city? Where did it take place? What specific building? Who, what, when, where, why, how? Throw in the H. Why not throw in the H? And explain to me just everything you can about yesterday's Inauguration Day. You'll be able to find this information on the news if you watch the news. You'll be able to find about it online if you Google Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2021. Or if you just go to any website, you should probably still be able to read some information about yesterday's inauguration. That, my friends, is your assignment for today. And since what do we have, like 17, 18, 19 minutes now? You know what? Yesterday was Inauguration Day. It's a government thing. We're talking about government in government class. This weekly review quiz, whatever. Cross it off. Done. No weekly review quiz this week. We'll give you one next week. I promise. Guarantee it. I don't like doing this. I don't like just giving you free grades here. No weekly review quizzes. I got to check up on you. So next week, weekly review quiz. Mark my words. That is it for this week, guys. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Make sure you give me this assignment of 15 sentences on yesterday's inauguration by midnight tonight. That's all we got. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.